Chag Sameach and a happy Passover to each and all on this beautiful Tuesday morning in Scottsdale, Arizona, as we are about to enter into the last holidays of Passover, the 7th and the 8th day that celebrate the splitting of the Red Sea and the culmination of the grand exodus from Egypt. Friends, I want to share with you today perhaps one of the most romantic stories ever composed in history, the story of the Song of Songs, of Shir HaShirim, written by King Solomon, a story that is read during this very festival of Passover. This is a story of a man and a woman who fell madly in love with each other during the spring season, as the buds of the fruits of these trees are erupting, "Anitzanim niru ba'aretz," as the verse says, and the smell is delicious around the land. Here is a love story in the making. They meet and they make up to meet the next day. That night, between the meeting and the next day when they are supposed to meet again, the woman just cannot fall asleep. Her heart is ablaze with love. Her soul was set on fire. She shares with the gods that she had fallen in love, and they don't give her much hope. The next day she goes out to the fields to find her beloved, yet unfortunately he's nowhere to be found. She crosses mountains and skips fences, yet still she cannot find her. Despondent, she goes home and she lays in bed ready to go to sleep. Then at that moment, her beloved knocks on the door. Kol dodi dofek pitchili, he says to her, "Please open up for me." But she, on the other hand, is too tired emotionally, drained soulfully. She had given this love so much hope, and that day when she just could not find him, she all of a sudden fell into despair. He knocks on the door and she shouts to him, "I already took off my clothes. How can I dress myself again? Pashatati et kutonti chachal bashena, rachatzti et raglai chachat anfem. I already washed my feet in preparation to going to sleep. How am I going now to make them dirty again and greet you at the door?" This is the story, my friends, of a love that is unfulfilled, of two people who were supposed to join each other's souls, to merge with one another, indeed to become one. Yet this strife was unrealized. Unfortunately, our sages teach us that this is often the story of the soul. The soul too, like that woman, searches for God ever since it is born, ever since it is sent here on a mission on earth. It looks for God everywhere. It knows that it is madly in love with God, that man, that beloved. Yet very often when we don't find him, when our soul searches him in all sorts of distractions of life and says, "You know what, I could not find him there or here or there again," it goes to sleep and falls into despair. But then at that moment, God knocks on our door again, and very often we respond, "God, I know it's you now. I can feel you in that holy act. I can sense you in that good deed. I can truly feel your light as you are shining upon me through the spiritual awakening. But I am too tired." In the story of the Song of Songs, though, we are given a glimmer of hope. There, the man, again, symbolizes God according to our sages, tells the bride, who symbolizes the soul according to our sages, "You know what? I will leave you a hint of where you can find me if you ever wake up from this despair. Where? Tzeilach beikvei atzon, uri et gideotaich al mishkenot haroim." If you feel like getting up and allowing your soul to unleash itself once again, to find me, to create that perfect oneness between you and I, to create a life that is completely filled with holiness, goodness, and yes, true life, then go and follow my footsteps. Te'ilach beikvei atzon. In my footsteps, you will find me. Through my footsteps, you will reach me. What are those footsteps? And here comes the opportunity for yet another little story, a parable about a king who was once traveling with his whole army and his son too, through the wilderness, through a desert, and all of a sudden his son shouts, "Dad, I'm thirsty." The king realizes, gosh, I left water behind. No one has water. We packed everything, and in a hurry, we did not pack water. So he says to his soldiers, listen, we have two options here. Option one is that I send some of you rushing back to the palace to get me water for my son who is not thirsty. Option two is to ask some of you to start digging anywhere you can here in the wilderness. Maybe you will find a well, and my son will then quench his thirst through the well and its waters that you will find. He asks his son, what do you think we should do? He says, I don't know. He says, I'll make the decision for you. I won't send my soldiers back to the palace. We will dig this well, and hopefully you will find a water that will be able to quench your thirst. After many hours, a well was found. They dug, and they were able to unleash its waters. The son quenched his thirst, but then approached his father. He said, Father, I think that it would have been quicker if you had sent soldiers to get me water from the palace than dig a well now for so many hours. Why did you ask them to dig this well? And the father said, it's very simple. In a few years from now, or maybe in many years from now, you too will be crossing through the same pathway. You too will be thirsty. And then you will need water. You may not have soldiers then that will go back to the palace to fetch water for you. So therefore I have decided to dig this well so that when that day comes, you will be able to go back to the same well that we dug today and quench your thirst in the same way. Friends, what does it mean? That God has left us some footsteps for our soul to follow and then find God there. He too has dug wells along the path of history, along the path of life. Those wells are the festivals. Festivals in Hebrew are called Mo'adim, which really means appointed times. If we follow those footsteps, those Mo'adim, those appointed times, and we connect to them, there we will find God's wells. There will we be able to quench our soulful thirst. Every Moed, every festival, but also every mitzvah is an opportunity to meet God, to allow that bride within us, that woman within us that is passionately in love with God, to go and finally become one with her beloved. Yes, we need the right tools to dig that well again. And those are given to us in each and every mitzvah, how to do the mitzvah, how to fulfill it fully, how to ensure that it is done with selflessness. Yes, we need the right tools to find God in every festival. On Yom Kippur we fast. On Passover we eat matzah. On Chanukah we light the menorah, and so on and so forth. But God promises us that in those festivals, in those mitzvot, we will find Him, be able to connect to Him, and yes, allow our soul to quench its thirst and to become one with divinity. Isn't that, my friends, what Yizkor is all about? The Yizkor that is recited each and every festival on Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Sometimes we have lost our connection and we have given up on our search with our loved ones who are no more. But they whisper in our ears, Se'ilach beikvei atzon uri et geduyotaich. I have left you my footsteps along the way. I have left you teachings, legacies. Follow them, our loved ones tell us, soulfully, spiritually. Please, I beg you, become one with me by joining my footsteps, by following my instructions, by doing all that I sought to do in this world. If we listen to those mitzvot, if we listen to those whispers, then we'll be able to connect to our loved ones, and through them to connect to God during this festival and during each and every day of our lives. I bless you, my friends, that as we are continuing to quarantine in our homes, to connect inward, to go and find that soul, listen to its calling that shakes us to our core, that begs us to please go ahead and find those appointed times, those mitzvahs and those legacies of our ancestors, and then we will celebrate that oneness with God. Then we will celebrate all that is good. And then, yes, a Chag will indeed be a Chag Sameach, a happy festival, a happiness that will endure to eternity. Chag Sameach.